Welcome to Angel Foundation's online volunteer training. My name is Janice Oatman, and I serve as the Community Development Manager for Angel Foundation. Part of my role includes recruiting, training, and coordinating volunteers. Volunteers are an essential piece of what we do at Angel Foundation, so we thank you for your interest. We simply couldn't survive without the help of many volunteers like you. We've designed this training to help answer questions about volunteering, so we hope that it will be helpful. Let's go ahead and look at our agenda. The agenda is as follows. First, we'll level set and talk about Angel Foundation 101. Next, we'll talk over volunteer expectations. Then we'll move on and talk about opportunities to get involved. Next, we'll go over some volunteer logistics, and then we'll wrap up and talk about next steps. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's dive in and talk about Angel 101. Angel Foundation is a Twin Cities-based 501c3 organization founded in 2001. We were founded to help families when cancer strikes. We do that by supporting the adult cancer patient as well as their families. One thing to note about Angel Foundation that makes us unique is that we serve folks with any type of cancer. There are lots of organizations that focus on a specific type of cancer, but we help people affected by any type of cancer. Let's talk about the three core programs. These are the specific ways which we help. First is our Emergency Financial Assistance, or EFA, program. Angel Foundation provides emergency financial assistance to adults in active treatment for cancer who are living in or being treated in the Twin Cities 7-county metro area. Funds are allocated for non-medical expenses like gas, groceries, utilities, and housing payments, and they're made available to those who show true financial need. Our next program is our Facing Cancer Together, or FCT program. Facing Cancer Together focuses specifically on families, providing parents and caregivers the tools and resources they need to parent through cancer. These programs range from family retreats to education and support series activities to our popular Camp Angel summer programs. We also sometimes offer things that are specific to a certain developmental stage, like teen outreach or preteen outreach. All of these programs have one thing in common. They're designed to provide families with opportunities to learn about cancer, talk about cancer, and be around other families experiencing similar challenges. Our third program is a brand new pilot program called Financial Cancer Care. We sometimes refer to this as our FCC program. Financial Cancer Care takes folks who are diagnosed with cancer and identifies them before they have reached the point where they have financial toxicity. What that means is they're not at the point where they would qualify for emergency financial assistance yet, and we want to help them before they get to that point. We pair them up with a social worker as well as a pro bono certified financial planner and provide them with advice and free visits to help them get the resources that are out there. Lots of times there's resources that people qualify for and they just don't know it because they don't have the time to look or apply. They're so busy trying to survive. That's where we can help. Hopefully we can cut off that financial toxicity and keep them from needing financial assistance. Now let's talk about Angel Foundation's mission, vision, and values. First, our mission statement. Through an innovative and integrated approach of financial assistance, education, and support, Angel Foundation helps adults with cancer and their families so that they may live life well with stability, strength, and resilience. Our vision is that Angel Foundation is recognized as the premier resource in Minnesota for educational, psychosocial, and financial support for adults with cancer and their families. As a volunteer, it's important that you know about our values, so let's talk about each one of those. First up, compassion. We bring professional expertise as well as personal experience to our work. We strive to see through the eyes of those we serve to provide innovative programs that reflect and address the emerging needs of our families in order to alleviate distress and build strength, resilience, and hope. Next, we value integrity. We demonstrate an unwavering adherence to the highest ethical standards in our actions to do what is right for those we serve and in the stewardship of our resources. We are family focused. We know that a cancer diagnosis affects the entire family and impacts the whole community. We take a holistic approach to embrace the needs of the adult living with cancer, their family, and the community that surrounds and supports them. We have a passion to succeed. We are deeply committed to making a profound and lasting difference in the lives of adults with cancer and their families. Through professional and personal passion, we act in a strategic, deliberate, and goal-directed manner to advance the organization. We also value diversity. Angel Foundation celebrates each person as an individual and is committed to treating everyone with equal respect and dignity. It is expected that each volunteer and staff member practices inclusiveness and acceptance. Now it's time to go over your rights as a volunteer. Your rights as a volunteer are to be treated with respect regardless of race, sex, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, age, ability, marital status, national origin, or ancestry. To be properly trained for assigned jobs so that you'll be able to do your job well. To expect a high level of communication between staff and volunteers. To feel supported in your volunteer work. And to terminate your involvement with Angel Foundation at any time. Now let's talk about your volunteer responsibilities. The code of conduct we expect you to follow is to make every effort to represent Angel Foundation in a positive, friendly, and professional manner, to treat your fellow volunteers, staff, and program participants with respect, to make every effort to do your job well, to maintain a high level of communication with the volunteer coordinator and other Angel staff when necessary, to support others in their roles, that includes both volunteers and staff members, to be clean, to adhere to the dress code, and to be free from chemical influence during your volunteer shifts. To follow Angel Foundation's policies and procedures. Let's go over some additional volunteer expectations. We expect our volunteers to be helpful and friendly, to be self-aware. We want them to leave personal stuff at the door. We expect volunteers to behave in a professional manner and to offer assistance when needed. We also expect you to remove yourself when necessary. We expect volunteers to ask for help when needed and to demonstrate empathy and compassion for children and families. We also ask that volunteers demonstrate strong group leadership skills and demonstrate an ability to receive feedback and direction from Angel staff. Volunteers are asked to set limits and boundaries, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in detail. Volunteers are also expected to respect the privacy of program participants. This is very important, and we'll talk about it in more detail in the slides to come. Volunteers are also expected to participate in all required trainings. Let's dive into confidentiality and privacy. Program participants and their families have a legal right to expect that confidentiality of information will be preserved. Unlawful use or disclosure of information may expose Angel Foundation to civil and criminal liability. This means that any breach of confidentiality will result in the automatic dismissal of your volunteer position. Confidentiality means that all information about a family is protected. Protected information includes any and all information about a program participant and their family. That includes, but is not limited to, their names, cancer diagnosis, financial information, family relationships, and any information learned from Angel Foundation staff, the program participant, or their family. No photographs or videotaping of any kind is allowed. Volunteers cannot discuss the program participant or family, the cancer diagnosis, the condition, treatment, or family information with anyone other than Angel Foundation staff or other involved volunteers. Volunteers will discuss information only in private spaces and only with Angel Foundation staff or involved volunteers. Please report all issues of concern to appropriate staff. Privacy involves privacy of body, belongings, information, and space, so please keep that in mind. Now let's talk a little bit more about HIPAA. The Health Information Portability and Accountability Act, or HIPAA, is a federal regulation that promotes and ensures the confidentiality of program participant and family information. It is a privacy education program that is important for confidentiality, and it is required information that all staff and volunteers must comply with. As a volunteer, what this means for you is that you will hear and see program participant and family information in which cancer diagnosis, demographic, family information, and care issues are detailed. This information needs to stay with you and you alone. It is not to be shared with anyone else. Volunteers are not allowed to share this protected information, even with their closest family or friends. I think that's the important part to remember here. No one intends to break HIPAA or intends to breach confidentiality, but sometimes we find ourselves sharing a little too much about our experiences with the people that we're closest to. Keep this in mind and you'll be fine. If you observe or are concerned about a potential breach of confidentiality, please inform your appropriate Angel Foundation staff person. General volunteer training. That's what we're doing right now. Congratulations, you're halfway there. All volunteers are required to attend a general volunteer training session upon approval of their application. Hosted at the Angel Foundation office once a month, or now available online, this training gives new volunteers a deeper look into the organization while outlining rules, guidelines, and expectations. Topics included are the introduction to Angel Foundation programs, safety and boundaries, self-awareness, and ways to volunteer. We'll also talk about volunteer opportunities and program logistics. Volunteers are only required to attend one general volunteer training session throughout the course of their involvement at Angel. That means that once you finish this video, you're all set. Volunteers who are interested in volunteering at Camp Angel must attend additional training. We usually offer a couple of training sessions and host them at the office closer to the time of camp. The content includes Camp Angel 101, goals, objectives, and curriculum, volunteer job descriptions, confidentiality, and child development and behavior expectations. Volunteers are only required to attend this training once during their time at Angel, unless significant changes have been made to the curriculum. In that case, volunteers must attend the training session that corresponds with the camp session at which they plan to volunteer. If you're volunteering for both sessions of camp, you're awesome, and you only need to attend one training. Now let's start talking about the different volunteer opportunities, first starting with our events. The first opportunity of the year is our Angel Gala. This is a signature event of ours that brings together more than 800 guests for a fun-filled evening to raise money for Angel Foundation. The evening begins with a cocktail reception and silent auction, followed by dinner, live auction, and after party. During the program, guests are inspired by musical performances, videos, and stories of adults with cancer and their families. This event is typically held in January and has most recently been held at the downtown Hilton Hotel in Minneapolis. Next is our Camp Angel Luncheon. Camp Angel Luncheon raises funds specifically for our Camp Angel program. This daytime event includes pre- and post-event shopping, lunch, and a short program where guests have the opportunity to hear from families who have benefited from Camp Angel and our other FCT programs. This event is typically held in May. Hope in Motion. Hope in Motion is a family-friendly walk, run, and cycling event for people of all ages and abilities. Participants must raise funds for Angel Foundation in order to walk, run, or cycle, and various route lengths are offered. A large party is held at the finish where food, youth activities, live music, vendors, and more come together to celebrate our survivors. The start and finish location is the same. It's Sky Hill Park in Eagan. There are also volunteer opportunities on the routes in St. Paul and surrounding suburbs. This event is planned for May 30th this year, and as of now is set to occur as planned. If we have to, we will postpone it till later in the summer. Next is our Angel and Eagles Golf Classic. The Angel and Eagles Golf Classic is an annual favorite, providing the opportunity to celebrate summer with a memorable day of golf and sunshine. The event begins at 10 a.m. with a golf clinic led by a master PGA professional, followed by a barbecue lunch and a noon shotgun start. Evening activities usually include things like silent auction, games, dinner, live auction, and fund and need giving opportunity. Each year, participants also have the chance to participate in a special dedication hole to honor or remember a loved one with cancer. This event is typically scheduled in July at the Minnesota Valley Country Club in Bloomington. Next is our Angel After Hours program. Angel After Hours is a casual post-work happy hour event featuring local brews and spirits, food truck goodies, and games. The event is held multiple times throughout the course of the year in various locations throughout the Twin Cities, from breweries and distilleries to performance venues. Angel After Hours is undergoing a little bit of a change right now. It used to be hosted by Angel staff, and now as we launch our YPro, or Young Professionals Council, they are taking over the ownership of this event. So how can you help with events? There's many ways. You can always be a day of event volunteer to help with things on the actual event day. Or you can help us as a planning committee member. Every event has its own planning committee, and most of them meet once a month for a few months prior to the event. It's a great way to get more involved and to help with the planning efforts. Next, let's talk about volunteer opportunities within our programs. Under the Facing Cancer Together program umbrella, there are lots of ways to get involved. You can help with events for teen and preteen outreach. You can help with events like Kids Night In, Parents Night Out, or other events that are social gatherings. You can help with mind, body, or wellness initiatives, for instance, yoga nights. And you can help at Camp Angel. That requires a lot of volunteers and is sometimes a difficult ask. We have 2 different sessions, one in June and one in August. The camp is a day camp, so most volunteers just help during the day, but we do ask them to help at all 3 days of camp during the session so that the kids can have stability. Where the teens have an overnight option, there is also an overnight option for volunteers. However, we don't need very many volunteers to stay overnight. How can you help? Well, I mentioned some ways how you can help with camp already, but with all of these Facing Together programs, we always need day of event volunteers. For most of the programs, we only need a couple volunteers, and what we need are folks who can be friendly faces, to interact with the kids, and to welcome them. Many of the programs include food, so it's helping with the logistics of setting that up and handing it out. We don't ever expect our volunteers to be offering social work tips or art therapy tips. We always have professionals for that. So rest assured, if you helped with a Facing Cancer Together program and you do get asked a difficult question by a child, there's always someone you can go to. We just need a few smiling faces to help. Do be aware that we have teen mentors. Teen mentors are folks who have attended Camp Angel in the past and they're getting close to the point where they'll age out from being able to attend. That means they're like 16 or 17 years old. Teen mentors have chosen to step up and help plan and run the camp, and they are also encouraged to help at other Facing Cancer Together programs throughout the year. Just be aware that these folks are out there, and if you volunteer for a Facing Cancer Together program, you might get to interact with them. Now let's talk about other volunteer opportunities. Really, the sky is the limit. We're open to ideas for admin tasks, things like mailings, helping us keep our records, working in our database, helping with marketing. Also, special projects always seem to come up. There's always opportunity for skill-based opportunities, so if you have something you love to do or a specific skill, please let us know. And then there's also what I like to call passion-based opportunities. Some people just love to do certain things. They love to go out and build things. Let us know if that's you, and when we have a project come up, we'll keep you posted. We do also have opportunities within our third-party or community fundraising events. These are events that, instead of being hosted or initiated by Angel, are hosted by members of the community, and they elect to give us a portion of the proceeds. Some of our larger third-party events also need help from volunteers. Many of them are golf tournaments or hockey tournaments, things of that nature, and they just need general day of event volunteers. If that ask comes to us, we pass it on to our volunteer database, so you could have the chance to help with those events as well. Now let's talk about volunteer opportunities for groups. Larger projects are perfect for corporate volunteerism, for social responsibility, and also for corporate engagement initiatives. Projects vary, but we do have some that are more popular than others. Here's a few examples. Angel Packs. These are backpacks that are packed for different developmental stages: child, preteen, and teen. The backpacks include items that are meant to be therapeutic to help a child when their parent or caregiver is diagnosed with cancer and they're having that difficult conversation of learning for the first time. These backpacks are already stuffed and are out at 56 different clinics across the metro area. When a person is diagnosed with cancer, they can elect to bring these packs home to their kids or grandkids, and then it comes with an accompanying parent folder and a guidebook for the child. This is really meant to help the parent or caregiver navigate that tough conversation, telling their child or grandchild that they were diagnosed with cancer. Stuffing Angel Packs is one of our most popular volunteer opportunities, so keep that in mind. Also, within the Angel Packs, we have stuffed animals, and those stuffed animals are very special because we have volunteers hand sew a pretend chemo port into the chest. So doing stuffy surgery is a very popular group activity. We basically supply you with the stuffed animals, the needles and thread, and the pretend ports, and ask folks to hand sew them in. Most people can get through 3 to 5 in an hour, even if you're not a great seamstress. We want the stitches to be visible so anyone can do it. We've also recently started adding medical play kits to our Angel packs, and so stuffing the medical play kits with things like gloves and face masks are helpful for us. That's another great group volunteer project. Hosting a supply drive definitely helps us out, and the most common supply drives that groups like to take on are things for camp. We also have opportunities for groups to help us with things like thank you notes. And of course, if you don't mind helping with mailings, that's always a need as well. Most commonly, it's stuffing the mailings that we need help with. Now let's talk a little bit more about boundaries for Facing Cancer Together volunteers. As a guiding principle, Angel Foundation adheres to a policy of presence in the moment, which equates to showing up to volunteer duties ready to fully engage with staff, other volunteers, and most importantly, our program participants. Understanding that your volunteer experience is about our program participants and not about you. Volunteers are asked to check themselves at the door and put our participants and their needs first. Recognizing that your interaction with program participants should be limited to time spent in Angel programs. Volunteers should not be in contact, in person or otherwise, with program participants during personal time. Continuing on with some additional boundaries. Let's go over some things that volunteers should not do. Volunteers should not bring gifts for program participants or their family members. Volunteers should not bring their children, grandchildren, or other underage guests to programs or events. Volunteers should not discuss their personal medical experience with program participants or family members, unless it's appropriate to the circumstance and helpful to the participant. So here's a quick note on this one. Sometimes in conversation, it might be very relevant to mention to a child that you have had a personal experience with cancer, but make sure that it's done in a way that keeps the focus on them. For instance, it's totally fine to say, "Yeah, I can understand how you might feel that way. I know what it's like to lose a friend to cancer." But don't go into the details about what type of cancer your friend had and how their death happened. Just keep it focused on them. It's all about the program participants and not about you. Volunteers should not discuss religion and politics with program participants or family members. Volunteers should not initiate hugs or other physical contact with a participant. Here's a note on that. If a kid comes in for a high five or a fist bump or initiates a hug with you, that's fine, but volunteers should not be the initiator of hugs or other physical contact. Volunteers should not accept invitations to social gatherings outside the context of Angel Foundation programs. And volunteers should not exchange personal information, such as email addresses, phone numbers, or mailing addresses, with program participants. Continuing on with some additional boundaries. Parent policy. Be aware that parents who are current participants in our Facing Cancer Together programs, meaning those who are actively attending programs themselves or are actively sending their children to programs, are not permitted to volunteer. This is regardless of if their children or family members plan to participate in this specific activity. Next, please be aware of our social media policy. Angel Foundation volunteers are not allowed to submit friend requests, requests to follow, or otherwise connect with program participants via social media. Should a connection be requested by a program participant, the volunteer should contact the volunteer coordinator before accepting it. Funeral policy. In the interest of self-care and longevity, volunteers should refrain from attending memorial services of program participants. Our overarching policy of presence in the moment also applies here. We expect that all contact between Angel volunteers and our Facing Cancer Together community will be at programs or events and on Angel time. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you really feel strongly that you should be attending a particular funeral, please contact us and discuss it with us before attending. Next, let's talk about logistics for our volunteers. First, communications. Email is our primary mode of communication. We once a month send out an email called the Angel Times. It usually arrives on the first Wednesday of the month. It contains a short update about what's going on in the volunteer world at Angel, as well as many links that you can choose from with various opportunities to sign up for. We also are on social media. We encourage you to like our Facebook page, and we also have a specific Facebook private group just for volunteers. Regardless of how you find out about a volunteer opportunity, whether it's email or online on social media, there's always a link to follow to sign up. We use signup.com. This is a very slick and easy website that allows you to view more about the shifts, pick what works for your schedule, and sign up with the click of a button. If anything changes, you simply log in and cancel your shift, and we are notified that it is now vacant. We also operate on a DIBS system. What this means is that if a volunteer position is in high demand, for instance at camp, those who have volunteered with us the year prior have top priority. If you have a project that you really want to help us with, it's best to work with us each year to secure your dibs for that project. Again, continuing on with logistics. Let's talk a little bit more about some expenses. First, we'll start with parking. Most of our events and programs take place outside the office at various locations throughout the Twin Cities Metro. Most of our partner venues already offer free parking. However, in the rare case that volunteers are asked to pay for parking, please note that you will not be reimbursed. There is, however, one exception to this, and that is the Angel Gala volunteers. When we host the gala at the Minneapolis Downtown Hilton Hotel, we do give specific instructions on a specific ramp to park in, and if people follow those instructions and park in that ramp, their parking is paid for. Travel reimbursement. Similarly, volunteers who travel to programs and events are not reimbursed for travel. Tax deductions. As a volunteer, you may be eligible to take a tax deduction for travel expenses to and from your volunteer commitment. Please consult with a tax professional to determine your eligibility. Personal spending. Volunteers who choose to spend their own money as part of their commitment to Angel Foundation will not be reimbursed for monies spent. For example, if you were to purchase an additional costume piece for the Camp Angel dance or purchase a new dress for the gala, those would not be reimbursed. Checking in and checking out. Volunteers are asked to check in with a designated staff person or volunteer upon arrival to the event or program. This process does vary slightly from event to event and will always be communicated in advance. Sickness and cancellation policy. Please pay attention to this as it is a little bit different than most organizations. First, the cancellation policy. Whenever possible, we request volunteers provide at least 24 hours notice if they are unable to show up for their shift. Volunteers who consistently cancel may be asked to temporarily take a step back from volunteering and are encouraged to evaluate their ability to commit to the volunteer program. As far as sickness goes, this is where we're a little bit different than some other organizations. Many of our program participants are actively being treated or are recovering from radiation and chemotherapy, and therefore they have weakened immune systems. In the interest of keeping everyone as healthy as possible, we ask that you refrain from attending an event or program if you are sick, even if it's just a common cold and you feel you could power through. If that means that you're unable to give 24 hours notice because you just started feeling under the weather, that's okay. We promise we'll understand. Dress code. All volunteers are provided an Angel Foundation volunteer t-shirt free of charge at their first shift. This t-shirt is worn for all events and programs unless otherwise noted. Volunteers are asked to keep their t-shirt in good condition as a cost-saving measure. Replacement t-shirts are provided as needed, but please don't cut, dye, or intentionally alter this shirt. The most notable exception to the volunteer t-shirt would be at our Angel Gala. Gala volunteers are asked to wear cocktail attire. We always provide specific instructions for each event on what to wear, and most of them ask you to wear appropriate footwear, aka comfy. General liability insurance. All volunteers are covered by the Angel Foundation's General Liability Insurance Fund while volunteering for Angel Foundation programs and events. If you have an accident or injury while volunteering for Angel Foundation, please notify a staff person immediately. Charges related to medical care for injuries that occurred while volunteering will be reviewed by Angel Foundation. Smoking policy. Volunteers are not permitted to smoke in or around Angel Foundation events or programs. Valuables. We recommend that all volunteers refrain from bringing valuable possessions to Angel events and programs. I would say most notably this comes up at the gala where there is a volunteer room. You want to make sure that you're not leaving fancy jewelry or purses unattended in that room. Practicing self-care. Self-care is a recurring theme in Angel Foundation programs. We strive to encourage our program participants to engage in activities that center their minds and bodies and encourage strong mental and physical health. We encourage our volunteers to do the same, and Angel staff are committed to supporting you in this effort. Self-care is incredibly important to maintain longevity in the volunteer program. Termination. Angel Foundation reserves the right to terminate the relationship with a volunteer at any time and for any reason. Equally, volunteers may make the same choice. As our training session comes to an end, let's talk about next steps. We will be sending you a volunteer handbook electronically. We ask you to sign and return the last page of that handbook to us and to keep the rest of the pages for your reference. We also will be sending you a one-page skills checklist form. Please complete and return that to us as well. While it's fine to send us these forms in the mail, we encourage you to do it electronically so that it's done quicker. It's great if you can scan them and email them to us. The next step would be to watch for the next edition of Angel Times email and sign up to volunteer using the links in that email. If you want to get started sooner, that's great. Just email me and I'll be happy to help. This brings us to the end of the online volunteer training for Angel Foundation. Thank you so much for your time and for your interest in volunteering with us. I look forward to working with you. Have a great day.